That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. Ah.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Hello and welcome. I'm Sam Harris, and it is my true honour and pleasure to host you here on the Growth Mindset podcast. I talk to amazing individuals about how they achieve their dreams and break down the strategies it takes to lead explosive tech businesses to being paid to travel the world. I deep dive into topics such as Bitcoin and FinTech, or just how to get stuff done, with the goal of increasing our own collective wisdom and making us all happier, healthier and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? On the show today, I'm interviewing Alex Den. I worked with him together running Basecamp, a business accelerator for students in Bristol University, where we learned a lot about startups and young entrepreneurs. Alex is one of the most curious people that I have ever met, and he has this uncanny ability to just break things down and make everything a lot more fun. And in general, he just has a great view on the world that I think you'll really enjoy. Hi Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here, Sam.
In your room. Already. Firstly, we should introduce you.
I go for Alex Den. Yeah, and then if someone asks me what I do, I say that I manage web developers for clients at the moment for a little southwest London web agency called 3D Digital. Good bunch of guys, just 8 of them, and they've been doing it since 1998, so they've learned a thing or two about how to manage client expectations. And to be fair, like, client expectations aren't too far from startup expectations. So often people want the moon, and they'll only have a small budget to work with. So it's always nice to try and balance budget with expectations. But so the other introduction would be that I love technology and ultimate frisbee and drinking whiskey and cycle touring.
Still haven't done a cycle tour?
We haven't, no, we haven't, but we should do. And it's so cheap as well. You know, I always remember it as if it's the most wonderful time, but like £10 each per day to cycle tour through France, wild camping. It's just, it's so much fun. If you just put that money aside, you can, for 600 quid, spend 2 months cycle touring completely free in France. Sounds like a nice thing to do. We should do it.
I thought you got a bit bored of France when you were there.
Yeah, we went through northern France.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we basically went the quickest route to Switzerland, so it wasn't the prettiest part. But we did go through some nice parts, and a load of sunflower fields and gorgeous country lanes and all the carrefours and the cheap croissants to keep us going.
But it's my favourite thing about touring is just the food.
Yeah, totally, because there's no guilt.
Yeah.
No guilt about everything that you eat, because you think, I must be burning so much energy, I can just scoff whatever I want. Although I did put on weight cycle touring.
Really?
Yeah, whereas Piers lost weight.
So I think that's the problem with being with someone bigger than you. Yeah. Maybe. Because we worked out when I was cycle touring with my mate Tom, he ended up having to eat like an extra Mars bar every few hours compared to me, and then probably have like a bigger portion of everything. And it was just like, okay, let's not like divide this equally, otherwise like you're going to die or I'm going to get fat. And
that's definitely how it goes.
Yeah. But then he always ate like loads compared to me anyway. He's one of the big people that are really skinny and just has to eat infinitely. Whereas I just don't need to eat that much on a day-to-day basis unless I'm exercising.
Yeah, well, you seem pretty on top of everything food, to be fair.
But we could get a bit more into your tour, because you did like 3 months cycling to Greece from England.
Yes, cycled London to Athens.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Which was about 2,500 miles, and went through France and Belgium and Switzerland and Italy, Croatia, and then we had to rush to get a boat where the two of us went sailing, if you remember that.
I remember that. Week of sailing.
So we didn't go through Bosnia and the other countries down there. We instead got a little ferry over to Italy, and then from Italy over to the western corner of Greece. And then some of the most fun, although dry and arid, cycling was racing to Athens from the west side of Greece in time for our sailing trip.
Nice. Did you guys ever get stressed at each other?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, to be honest, it was because we had been doing 50 miles a day very relaxed, and then...
Oh, that sounds very relaxed, yeah.
Oh, so relaxed. Yeah, we told people it wasn't a food and drink... it wasn't like an endurance tour. It was a gastronomical tour of Europe.
Yeah.
So we'd just be drinking wine and eating the foods of each of the local places. Although in Switzerland, all we could afford was little chocolate because the food's just absurd. Yeah. It's a far cry from France.
My mate said when he was in Switzerland doing something similar, he basically just lived off like olive oil and bread.
Yeah. And even that would have set him back a lot. Yeah, it is. Actually, that's a good point. Olive oil was good. Well, we had tuna as well. Loads of tins of tuna. But so yeah, we got stressed at each other when we had started heading south through Croatia along the Dalmatian coast, which I would love to do again. I think that's the most pretty part of it, other than maybe the Dolomites in northern Italy. And we were sort of fighting over how many miles we should do every day in order to get to Athens in time for sailing. Yeah. We ended up going for the easier option, which was the ferry shortcut that I mentioned.
Yeah. So what was Piers in the camp like, we'll do more miles, and you were like, oh, let's just have fun, or...
No, it was the other way around, actually. I wanted to do more miles. I wanted to turn it into a bit of an endurance thing. I wanted to see how hard I could push myself and how many miles I could do every day. But I think Piers was having some issues with his knees, for example. And, there's a point where ambition shouldn't overrule doing what's best for your friend. And ultimately, there's a friendship on the line as well. So you've got to compromise. And it doesn't really matter. The point is that we can still say that we cycled to Athens and feel like we genuinely did.
Something pretty big. Yeah, that's cool. And it's similar to what me and Tom kind of had conflicts on when we did the John O'Groats to Land's End, of mainly speed, of like, he'd be like trying to push faster. I was like super keen to do as many miles as possible, but we didn't have that much daylight and I just wasn't as fast as he was. And it was just like, whoa, I can try going faster, but like, if you just keep on saying it to be all hour every hour, it's not going to really make me any faster.
Yeah, you're not going to get to be the same fitness level within a few days. Someone's always going to be fitter than the other person. And in a group of cycle tours, you can only go as fast as the slowest person. So that always puts pressure on a group. But I would recommend it to anyone, to be honest. Cycle touring is it's so underrated. And it seems like we actually have quite a big group of friends who I know who do cycle touring. And I think we should cherish that, get more of those trips under the belt because they're great and affordable. And you get to see a lot of Europe, which is literally on our doorstep.
The only difficulty really is that you can't do anything else when you're cycle touring. Like, sort of, I went climbing for a month, 2 months, 1 month ago, and like, I took my work with me, and I worked sort of 4 days a week, maybe 5. That's like, and then like I climbed on the weekends and like half a day on Wednesdays. That was cool because I didn't really have to like give anything up. Whereas like cycling, like you might not even want to take your laptop with you, instead of, or unless you've got like a really small kind of little kind of pad to write a diary or something, it's a bit difficult. So you definitely, but it's good. Like I would like to sort of take like a month into it. Right, I'm shutting off technology and just being like a bit more one with peace. But it's harder.
It's definitely harder to tell the company you're currently working for, oh, it's fine, I'll still get work done, I'll still be able to manage the project, everything's in the cloud, you can always say that, but the reality is that you can't rely on the internet connection in some rural place, and if you're cycling you want to be rural. Whereas
if you go remote working anywhere for like a month, if you're like, okay, I'm going to go surfing for a month, you can find like a good village with good Wi-Fi and just surf each morning for 2 hours or something, and you can kind of get away with it.
So people usually do pick up on the cycle touring when I'm talking to them about things that I like. And the other background would be that I have always been a bit of a maths nerd. I did economics and econometrics, but also love the psychology side of things, which the combination of the two of those. Oh, and I should also say that econometrics is basically statistical analysis of economic theory. So like macroeconomic models and that sort of thing. But just because everyone always asks, what the hell is econometrics? And I say, it's a fair question. I don't really know. But
no, me neither.
Always thought I wanted to go into stockbroking. And then I think I realized that I wanted to use technology to try and make some sort of long-term benefit happen in the economy or something. So I always wanted to create these startups ideas that either improve people's lives individually or en masse. And I think a lot of my ideas, I basically just enjoy ideas more than I enjoy doing the nitty gritty of numbers. So I do have a background in it, and I can quite happily do like lots of numerical things to analyze how effective something might be in a marketplace or whatever. But the bit that I find more fun is the people side of it all, which is what can you create out of nothing that no one's thought of yet, no one's made yet, and share with people that are really interesting or worth buying. Yeah, I just think it's a shame really that more people aren't more ideas orientated. A lot of people do just, in my experience, sit in some sort of comfort level of life, and I think I've got a bit of a growth mindset. It's not just contained in my brain. I want to think about how you can grow everything.
Yeah, it's kind of the point of the podcast.
Oh, really?
It was called Growth Mindset Podcast.
Really?
And I'm still debating keeping it as Growth Mindset versus Get Lucky Podcast, which is basically the same thing, but just sounds cooler.
I like both of those. Yeah, I think...
I found it easier to like summarize Get Lucky in like one sentence than Growth Mindset, and it sounds a bit more like kind of arty psychology stuff, and people aren't sure it's for them, whereas Get Lucky, like you can kind of engineer your own luck, and it's not just about waiting for things to happen. Like if you just put yourself out there, good things happen and you can do it.
Maybe you should call it Felix Felicis then, which is the lucky potion from Harry Potter.
Yeah, but true. That's really cool, but also a bit geeky.
True.
That is really cool there.
Yeah, I think growth mindset's very scientific psychology, but I don't see the podcast being you discussing all of the psychological experiments of whether a growth mindset is innate or whether people get motivated and then they have a growth mindset.
Yeah, because like it's basically talking to people with a growth mindset, but it's not like let's break down the growth mindset aspect for this episode each time.
Yeah.
It's more like break down like, okay, what did I learn from this person in general rather than...
I like the idea of making your own luck, definitely. Yeah. I've long believed that. I think it's one of the things that makes me feel like I'm in control of my surroundings as well, whereas lots of people feel helpless.
Yeah, okay, cool. So back to why you like startups and things. What was your first startup?
It was local services marketplace that was called Patchwork Pie. The idea was that you'd have a patch, which is like a little drawn area, geolocated or whatever. So imagine a little 5-mile radius on the pin that is your home, and you say what services you can provide. So, for example, yourself, you'd be able to teach some guitar, you'd be able to teach some business development and growth marketing. You could do babysitting. Perhaps you fixed your own iPhone.
I fixed my own washing machine.
There you go. That's the sort of thing we're talking about. And it's just about connecting people to people who have been there and done that particular skill or learned that particular craft, so that people who may have skills but may not have the way of marketing those skills professionally on a personal website would just be able to sign up and find a little feed of things that are related to their skill set.
Like TaskRabbit?
Yeah, exactly like TaskRabbit. And there were a few others as well, Thumbtack. They've all gone quite niche now, which is quite interesting because I think we would effectively describe it as Gumtree for local services.
Yeah, so do you think that was part of why you didn't make it a success? The fact that it was too broad, or...?
No, for me, there were two main reasons why it wasn't a success. Because we got almost 1,000 people signed up to the site, ready for the site to launch. And I had the fun of meeting random people on Park Street in Bristol and just talking to him. And I said, by the way, you might want to sign up to this website. And he's like, I already signed up. And I never met this guy before. And I loved the fact that someone had. Yeah, it was a good feeling. So I felt like there was definitely some sort of product market fit. People loved the idea of it and the value proposition. There were two main things. One was that me and my business partner, James, who's a great guy, I think we're too similar. So we would struggle to split our responsibilities and we'd fight over the minutiae, and that would make concentrating on the bigger picture more difficult. And I think that's a big lesson, actually, learning how people fit together in order to try and achieve something together.
Yeah, I think you two are both quite good at having like fun, having good ideas and marketing and side of things, but then like more the tech side of things. And I'm not sure what else you're missing so much.
Well, the second thing was that we had an Indonesian Ruby on Rails development team, and we burnt through the cash before we'd had an MVP that we could release. Yeah. So there was no product that had brought in any revenue. So we effectively ran out of cash, which is one of those basic rules that we then began to teach people when we were at Basecamp. Always make sure that you can get money for whatever you're offering before you put boatloads of money in, which is a mistake that I think almost everyone makes.
Do you think you could have tested it somehow with like, as in just assigning people tasks, like just sort of, okay, I've got a list of people that actually don't mind having small jobs done around their house. I've got a list of people that can do jobs.
Absolutely. Some sort of, one person being the machine, or one person being the algorithm and the feed, and everyone else sort of contributing to some sort of yellow pages of skills list that then could grow over time. I think that was spot on. That would have been the smart way to get the idea off the ground. But problem was that we wanted to make it scalable. We wanted it to be huge. We had these grand ideas, and that was one of the problems with me and James, is we're both blue sky and not down on the ground thinking, how do I get this guy here who I've never met before to pay me £5 to pay £50 to get this person to fix his washing machine or whatever, without then going through a company or an agency or any of the middlemen. We basically just wanted to cut out the middleman from almost every possible local services.
So I guess if you had more of a proof of that initially, you then could have got more investment to actually build the tech properly.
Well, we did get an offer of investment, which was from John Simon, who's the...
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So he... Yeah, exactly. So he's the... Him and Tristan, isn't it? Tristan Hogg? Yeah, Tristan Hogg's chef extraordinaire. John Simon's management marketing extraordinaire. And he loved the idea of investing in tech. And I think he really enjoyed the energy that James and I brought to it. So it was really nice, actually. We'd meet with him every month and discuss how we were progressing. And I think he was really, really keen. I remember a lot of those meetings really, really well.
Okay, so why didn't he invest? You guys just weren't ready for it?
We were too greedy.
Yeah? Weren't to accept how much did he want for it? That percentage?
He wanted something like 20% of the business.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In hindsight, you're like, that would have been fine.
Yeah. In hindsight, I really, really wouldn't have minded, because the connections, the experience he would have brought. Yeah. But I was at the age where I thought that I knew everything. And I don't think you realise that you're in that stage until you come out of it and you realise how much you don't know. So,
yeah. How old were you then? 21? That's a good guess.
I know.
Cool. But what else did he teach you then as a mentor?
Well, he was always very keen to get down to the customer point of view, and he had this excellent way of effectively creating a mindset of being the person providing the skills and the mindset of the person having the skills provided to them. So both sides of the marketplace, and he was really good at putting a face on them and an identity on them, and sort of talking through what they might find difficult and confusing. I think he knows how people work, like really, really good people person. He used to run a whole string of nightclubs and bars, I think, in London. That's what he did before Prime Minister. So he's obviously great with people. I think that's what he brought to it.
Cool, thanks. So, yeah, that went wrong. Then what other ideas did you have? Have you ever, did you always feel you were going to be entrepreneurial, when you're younger? Do you have any stories of, youth projects? Sadly,
I don't. No, I think I've always been really interested in how things start. But as a kid, I never wanted to... I never thought about the business. Because my granddad was an inventor, I always thought about the invention side of things.
Yeah.
But never the business side of it. So I just had ideas and I just did things. And I think that's what I was inspired to do. But I never really tried to monetize anything.
Have you got any cool projects and things that you did, or nice ideas that you ran? I feel like you probably did something ideas-wise to do with having fun somehow.
Well...
Really good at having fun.
Well, I think they were more just mental projects in the garden and stuff, trying to dig the deepest hole that I could and just that sort of stupid thing, or climb the tallest tree and be just a silly child. I think there was a point where I went from teenager to university where I realised, after doing a lot of travelling actually, that people are really, really interesting, and actually I should widen my view from, I think maybe I was quite selfish. I widened my view to think, how can I help other people? And that was when it turned into, how can I create ideas that are self-sustaining, worthy of a business? All
right. So after your first business and then university, we both ended up working together at Basecamp.
We did, yes. In fact, you very much helped me get that job.
It's fun.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that was funny. But you thoroughly deserved it, I think. So.
Well, it was a good year.
Yeah, it was an awesome year. Would have been way better than the other person that they were suggesting that maybe would be good for the... I was like, oh God, not him. I've forgotten his name, but I just remember thinking he's such a dick. And yeah, I always got along with you whenever we met before. But yeah, from the year that we had running the accelerator, is there any main takeaways you have from that year, like lessons wise?
For me, it was the pattern of thinking that someone with an idea goes through, and being able to recognize what stage of the process they're in. And having been through a bunch of those and failed ultimately, I enjoyed being able to maybe signpost some of the dangers before they got there. So for me, the takeaway was I really, really enjoyed being able to say, you may want to try and prove this before you put money into it. And are you guys, confident of how you've carved up the responsibilities here between the two of you, between the three of you? And some of the ideas were just ludicrous as well. I think you've got to throw that in. Some people just think they've got the best idea in the world.
Yeah, have you got any favourite ideas?
Oh, it's tough to say. I mean, are we still covered by NDA? I think we might be.
We can check after we've recorded. Or we could describe something very similar but not quite the same. I don't think we are. We had some really stupid ones, but...
I'm trying to think back to the pitches and the sort of challenges compared to... it's difficult now. It's like I only remember the ones that I thought had potential because those are the ones that stuck.
The stupid ones that were like funny at the time.
Exactly.
Not so much.
We'd sort of have a drink afterwards and think, really?
Because I've had Tom Harper, that's not his name, Tom Carter.
Yeah, Tom Carter.
On the podcast, and Theo now, who were both very memorable when they first came in. But I don't think of my other favourite people that came on.
Well, I really enjoyed Rob Hall. He runs Wriggle.
Yeah, I didn't meet him.
Yeah, he was a postgrad lawyer, and he just quit his law job to run the startup. And he was the first Basecamp business that went to what was the Engine Shed Accelerator?
Engine Shed?
No. It was like part of it. Mike's part of it. The American guy.
Yeah, I know. Set Squared?
We've done really well here. No, not Set Squared. Basically, he took in 10 businesses and did his best to accelerate them. And Wriggle was one of them. He had a design team, he had a development team, and he basically ran this little in-house agency. And then the entrepreneurs would grab what they wanted from the agency in order to get their MVP, in order to get their designs, their logo, and then he would effectively just say to them as a mentor, because he'd been through several businesses before this guy, go and do this, go and do that, try this, try that, and they would do it. And Wriggle is still going, and it's in something like 6 cities in the UK now: Brighton, Bristol, Manchester, London, and they are a little bit like Y-Plan, where you open up the app and it will show you places where you can get ridiculously cheap food and drink, because once you've gone into a place, you're much more likely to return. The old idea that if you get someone to try, for a cost price, then they're more likely to come in and purchase from you at a price that's profitable to the business at a later date. Plus, bums on chairs, bums on seats is always a good thing for a business, because they look busy. There's more people in there trying the business. There's more people in there who are going to be able to talk about the business to their friends. So Wriggle is really like a local business marketing tool. And Rob was really memorable from that. I think he's done fantastically well. Really, really happy with that. But he came in and he just said, I really don't know what to do. I've got this idea. And I said, well, to be honest, I think seeing as you're not a student anymore, you're perfect for this accelerator. And he went and he got it, and he's done fantastically well. And I think the takeaway, probably another takeaway to bring this around to your original question about takeaways from Basecamp, that knowing how to connect the right people can make a whole world of difference compared to just trying to figure it all out on your own. And you end up just thrashing around a little bit and talking to the same people.
Yeah.
Which, you've got to expand your horizons a little bit. And you may not be able to do that yourself. It may be that's where the mentor comes in. That's where small accelerator like Basecamp comes in, because people give their details to Basecamp so that Basecamp can point businesses their way.
It's definitely so much of it is just who you know and can get connected to.
I remember Theo coming in as well. That was one of the most memorable times, I think, just because Theo was so damn excited.
Yeah. She's like a kid in the toy shop, like, oh my god, that's amazing, I can't believe you just told me that. I'm going to do it now. He was telling me last night, like, I remember I gave him like a list of books and he came back and I lent him the Beer Mat Entrepreneur. He came back the next day having read it all night. Be like, I've read it, thanks so much, I've made so many notes, this is so good, I'm doing this, I'm going to find my founders, I'm going to get the 4 things. Like, okay Theo, whoa.
Alright, get your founders, Go for it. No, but I remember him coming in with the idea for Contolo, or what became Contolo, which is basically pay-per-view advertising for public screens, which I thought was a genius idea, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was really cool.
But I took him to the pub and got him some contacts just by speaking to the pub manager and asking if she had any contacts of drinks brands or whatever. And we ended up walking away with the details for Diageo and Red Bull, and sort of handed these to Theo and was like, this is what you do when you just go and talk to people and find out how they can help you.
Yeah.
They will happily help you if they can. Like, people are nice. And Theo was just going, I don't know how you just did that. That was awesome. Yeah. And I'm just going, it was you. It was your idea. You just got to have the confidence to go and talk to someone and, take a little chance every now and then. Make your own luck.
Yeah, but it's kind of crazy, like, what other people are good at and not. Because, like, to Theo, that was just, like, complete magic that you'd just done that. But then to us, it was complete magic that he'd just written this software that could, like, recognize where people were looking. And, like,
completely.
If we'd sort of just worked together on something then as a project, probably would have been a lot more successful than us being on different projects, needing someone else that could do the thing that we couldn't do in hindsight. But yeah, anyway.
What can you think of any particular businesses from Basecamp that stand out?
Yeah, a few. I really remember, unfortunately I'm bad at names, but the guy that was running...
Talking about Ideascape?
No, I'm talking about the nightclub one, and it had a really good name.
You're talking about Tinder for nightclubs?
No. I'm picturing his face and everything, and I'm picturing the poster, cap, 90s kind of music.
Oh!
No Scrubs.
No Scrubs.
Yeah, the guy that ran No Scrubs came in, and he was having like issues with his business partner, and then he was trying to scale it, and he eventually sorted that out and got into like 5-6 other cities and did really well. I remember kind of just being quite cool, like, because I hadn't realised that it was a student running the event, and like they were quite big already, and it was just like a cool thing going on, and he walked in and was like, oh, you're just like a guy that doesn't know what he's doing. I thought it was just like a big event stuff, like, and so it's pretty interesting just to observe that and then to help him along the way with his troubles, and he was really good and on it. Yeah, Justin Bargett, and he now I was telling you to go to Founders and Coders, like a coding project. He went to Founders and Coders like a year ago, and he's now a coder, and I don't know what else he's doing.
There's going to be a lot of people that we know who've done that. Well, you've done that for one.
Yeah.
Whereas I've decided that the reason I haven't become a coder is because I can't keep up.
Yeah, I think I can really...
Because it's a lifestyle, and I don't think I'm going to try and... I think I'll build a Drupal site, right? Yeah. And I'll get modules, and I'll be able to plug in and everything. And for those who don't know, Drupal's like WordPress. It's a content management system, but it's enterprise grade. The White House use it. BBC Good Food uses it for their community. Yeah. So it's all really, really easy to build. It's all open source, and would highly recommend anyone who's looking for a powerful blank slate of a website tool to check out Drupal. But I don't think I could do everything that coders do. From managing them and managing projects, I've seen that there's so much that goes into it that ultimately I think I want to run a section of a company or a product within a company or a company in the long run. And that means that I can keep an understanding in my head of how coding works and try to manage people who have to do it as part of their job and try and help them to manage expectations and estimates of projects. But the actual coding, it seems like if I go down that route, then that's in like a really solid, future-proof employee skill. And I want to hedge my bet and effectively take a slightly more chilled, further back approach and say, okay, well, I want to concentrate on being able to manage coders so that's why I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing at the moment. And I honestly just don't think I could keep up with what coders do, because it's like they do evenings and weekends looking into it and looking up new frameworks, and it's intense. It's amazing. I have so much respect for coders and developers. I thought my maths background would help me with it. I don't think I have the patience.
It's a lot of patience, and also like linguistic-y stuff I think helps.
What, like syntax?
Yeah, so I found it kind of difficult learning just new words for everything and all terminologies. But it's definitely, again, on the same principle as you, is more like I kind of learned it just so like ideally I could build my own MVPs, but more so I could just understand what other people were doing and manage the process better, rather than really wanting to just be able to code things all day long.
Well, the other thing that you've got going for you is sort of leadership qualities, because you do just get on and lead by example. And I think you can do that pretty well, having the knowledge to just say, look, let me show you how to build this. I'm just going to build this bit here. And if they come along and they say, oh, I can improve that, then you're totally fine with it. But the fact is that, you got it to the stage where it can be improved on, whereas I can't do that. So, and to be fair, with Pedal Power and a whole bunch of the other projects you've done, you've obviously amassed a bit of experience of just knowing how to go out there and get clients and get new business. And now you're off to Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's exciting.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, no idea what's going to happen. It's going to be awesome. Good things, Selene. So, yeah, super excited for this. Hong Kong, very close to Japan, where we both went for a business trip. So, we've never done a cycling tour together, but we did do a tour of Japan together, which was really nice.
I think one of my favourite memories of that were the two of us sitting on a maglev train, which are awesome, and you're there with a little pot of
I see where this is going.
natto, which is fermented soybeans, and it's rude in Japan to eat in public. And I'm sure I'd mentioned this to you, but you're just there with your pot of natto, just eating it, and you've got all this like stringy beans going straight from your mouth to the pot. And to be fair, I'm all up for trying new food. Not to the extent you are. To be fair, you are like the king of trying new food. Rather than what I was worried about happening, which was people would sort of look at you and think, that's so rude. They just looked at you and thought, this guy is not a local, but he's eating natto. So everyone was like coming over like, do you like this? Like giving you the symbols for, is this food that you enjoy?
Are you going to be sick? Are you
okay? Like they just didn't believe that there was this just complete foreigner on their train eating what they thought no one who wasn't Japanese would ever eat. To be fair, it was weird, but it was good. Yeah. So that was a pleasant surprise. That was a nutty experience in Japan with you. That was so funny. The look on their faces. Yeah. Like, who is this guy? Pointing to their friends, saying, what the hell is he doing eating this food? He shouldn't be eating it. Why is he enjoying it? He shouldn't be enjoying it.
I think what else was good from Japan? I really like Hawaii land, just as a cultural experience of kind of crazy. Everything in Japan was just like a cultural, blew my mind. But going to Hawaii land, it was very kind of American tourism-y, but Japanified.
Well, it was a Hawaiian luau.
Yeah.
Mixed with a Japanese onsen, which is a spa. And yeah, it was really interesting to see the American culture, or the Hawaiian culture really, I should say, in the Japanese manner. I've been to luau's in Hawaii, and the one in Japan was pretty good. But yeah, you've got to go to a luau in Hawaii. They're all very touristy, to be fair. It's like going to New Zealand and seeing hackers and stuff. They're doing it just for the tourists. Other than the All Blacks, they do it because they're awesome. Did you watch the game? The All Blacks game? It ended 31-31 at the end of the Lions tour. 8 weeks of them touring New Zealand, and it ended in a draw with the All Blacks. It's a hell of a game.
That's cool.
So, other things from Japan. We got in a bath naked with a lecturer.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah.
We went on a big tour through some mountains or some snow. Yeah, it was really cool, though.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. And
he owes me 50 quid.
Does he?
Yeah.
You should message him.
I know, well...
He does still owe 50 quid. I remember that now,
reason,
refused to accept the fact that we could just send it digital banking. It's I'm going to come see you, and then I'll get my 50 quid and I'll give you a present. And we haven't got around to seeing each other apart because he's always busy whenever I'm in Bristol, or I'm basically never in Bristol. Yeah. I could just message him. I'm sure he'd send me the money.
He just doesn't want to tell you.
I'm going to meet him sometime and I'm going to get my 50 quid. Probably be less than a train ticket now. Anyway, what else?
Well, we were talking about Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I'm sort of keen to, I know that we've got about 15 minutes left.
Okay.
To tell you about some of the ridiculous ideas I've had.
Oh, there is one. We did work on one idea together at Basecamp. Remember we did the kind of a marketing thing for a bit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do remember that.
That was a small business side project. So we had done stuff together.
That's a good point. Well, and then there was cover teaching as well.
Yeah. Done quite a bit of a drill down to cover teaching yesterday with Theo.
Oh, yeah? I feel like I should listen to that.
Yeah, you probably should. Thinking, any main points from the marketing business that we ran? So it was just kind of cool to, as in we started with a client that we thought we could help, really, so the other way around of we saw someone and was oh, well, we can kind of help you do what you want to do, and then there's never really such a problem as a business to run.
Yeah, I think we both enjoyed the idea that we were helping another business, as you just said. Yeah, it made it quite different that we could take a sort of view out from outside and say, well, look, we know the student body, we know this company, we know the two of them fit together really well. So let's do what we would want to happen if we were the student in this situation.
Yeah.
It's like take our view on the last 3 years. And I think we really helped. I think the one thing that I took away from that project with you was that if you're doing something consulting-wise, then you need to make sure that you've got targets to hit. Because I'm now a firm believer that what gets measured gets managed, which has both positive and negative connotations, because you don't want to incentivize one metric to the detriment of others, exactly.
But no, it's kind of fun. We ran like a series of like eating challenges for pizzas and stuff.
Yeah, it's good. I've still got the photos from a lot of those. Some of them are just grotesque. Men dressed as ballet dancers, just with tomato sauce all over their face. Good though. It's nice to get paid to have fun and create these events that lots of people were having fun at.
That's cool.
Yeah, well worth doing. We probably don't need to cover teaching then if you've already talked to Theo about it.
Yeah, I guess if there's anything major you want to say about it, like it was your idea.
Yeah.
For a start.
Yeah, it was.
Explain where it came from.
Yeah, well, it came from the idea that it came from the idea that primary schools were spending so much money on recruiting short-term supply teachers for classes whatsoever, and I actually came up with the idea whilst watching Prime Minister's questions in the House of Commons. Yeah, so MPs were discussing the problem that is so much state money goes to these private umbrella companies to bring in teachers that don't get much of that money at all. It could be as little as a third of the fee that the school is paying the agency for their day's wages. And the teacher has little rights. And I just felt like something had to be done to really help how vulnerable teachers that mean well were when they were dealing with supply agencies, because supply agencies had the connections, but the teachers were the ones with the skills, but they were just being completely taken advantage of and exploited. And it actually really upset me, because I think we need to give teachers a lot more love in this country, and all countries, to be fair. I'm sure we both remember having excellent teachers. I think everyone always remembers their favourite teachers and bad teachers and stuff. So you just, it needs to be. My background in economics was also saying, well, look, if teachers don't have a good time teaching, they don't get respected, they don't get the wage they deserve, then we're just going to get worse and worse teachers. And that is not good for the country in the long run. So there were so many reasons that made me think that we should set up a business that connected schools directly with a pool of supply teachers that lived nearby. Win-win. And I think, I still think it's a great idea, and I'm glad that we've seen companies, even if it's not ours, pursuing the same goal. I'm really, really happy to see how Air Supply get on, for example. They've got investment in their, believe in those guys. Even if their valuations for the company was a little off, in my view, they're really nice, and they obviously care about it too. So, best of luck to them.
So, you said you got a bunch of other... Do you often have ideas from Prime Minister's Question Time? Do you watch that a lot?
I really enjoy it. Yeah, I do really enjoy it, because you get...
So you're still watching it then now?
Oh, I used to watch it whilst at work, because I could do this job that was effectively like muscle memory for a couple hours a day, and I'd always time it when there was stuff going on in the House of Commons. So I'd have the House of Commons in my headphones, and I'd recently had a tour of the House of Commons as well, and I'd just been really, really interested in UK politics, and which was new for me, because I've always just disregarded politics. But I think I've realised that the best thing you can do is get involved in some way. So that was me trying to get involved in my own.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I generally avoided politics just because I'm like, there's not really much I can do about it. I may as well like ignore as much as possible until like the day before election, just actually read up what the policies are and try not to waste like headspace on it. Because I believe as being an entrepreneur, you're going to have more effect if you just focus on doing that. But if you're actually listening to what's going on in the policies and what's actually affecting the actual current situation, like things like that, then that actually makes a lot of sense to follow it more.
Well, and there are large regulatory changes that can create massive business opportunities.
Certainly.
So it's a really big factor, and it's a risk that we would often ask people to take into account when they came into Basecamp with ideas. We'd say, or I'd certainly say, you need to consider
what the regulations will.
What are the regulations around this? Do you know what's legal? Do you know how this might change? Do you know the direction it's going in? They really need to be on top of it.
In his purple menu.
Yes. Yeah. Have you talked about that?
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah. I still can't believe that he loves that idea.
But yeah, so what are your current ideas then? You said you've got like a load.
Well, I always write them all down.
Yeah, me too. Well, mostly.
Would you like to hear? Well, no, I should tell you how I've broken it down as well. I've got a breakdown by brands, causes, designs, emails, games, models, music, photography, politics, products, recipes, research, use of land, websites, and writing.
You gave me a bit of a wink with the use of land.
No, it's a use of land. Oh, no, there's use of land is silly things like camping in London. Because where the hell can you camp in London?
I don't think you can camp in London.
Exactly. But if you could, and you were a cycle tourer, you would.
I don't know, I might avoid London because, well, I guess it's nice to actually go into the big cities.
If you knew that you could camp and you were cycle touring, that was a brief one. There was an idea that was my Limbo property development idea, which was there's a company that develops houses which are for sale and makes a profit on the sale. So the ownership doesn't actually pass to the company, but is placed in limbo to develop the property, to add extra bedrooms, for example, and the seller retains the ownership. So basically limbo is like this government subsidy process where a 2-bed property with an attic gets developed into a 3-bed property so that you're getting more bedrooms in London in the houses that already exist. And it would be part government funded, but the government would get the money back through the increased value of the house. That was one of those. Oh, I love this one. Having an international store, but like it had never been done before, right? So there are some things that you just can't grow or make in your home country. Bananas in Alaska, for example, mahogany lumber in Maine, or ballpark francs in France. Lots of things like caviar and champagne, and Scandinavian furniture, German beer, French perfume, Egyptian cotton.
Yeah.
Even when you can make it at home, it's all classier when it comes from somewhere else, right? Like there's sort of like an import love for it. Korean toys, Taiwanese electronics, Mexican clothing. You just keep going, right? There's loads of them. So you create this shop where you walk in and you basically can just go to any section of the shop and you're in a different country.
Okay.
So you can go to like the Mexico Wall and all of this stuff is from Mexico. Or you can go to the Ugandan Wall and see, Ugandan coffee and all of these things. And you can literally travel the wares of the world just by walking around this shop. But I've never seen anyone do that.
Yeah, it's true. Because, depending on where you are in London, if you go into your Tesco's, you might have like a Polish section or an Indian section and stuff. And it's quite nice. I kind of like that.
I love that, yeah.
But it's not the same as it is really cool to go to there's a big Japan store or a big Asian market and just get that food. But it'd be nice if there was a store that was just literally a world one and you could kind of do a bit of a tour. And I don't know if you'd have enough for anyone from one part of the world to say, I need to go get my stuff from there, or if it'd be more for local people just being a bit more touristy.
It would be an experience.
Yeah.
And I think that whenever you hear podcasts talking to retail magnates, they always talk about the fact that retail is becoming more of an experience. If you're kind
of the first one there, kind of the same with the serial killer cafe or something. It's it's a bit gimmicky, but loads of people go anyway just because it's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could go high profile, and actually a lot of tourists would even go just because it would be so cool to see it, because you can only go there in London.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it as I would prefer it to be a local thing. I could just go there one night a week and say, okay, one night a week, I'm actually going to commit to just doing a meal from a different part of the world, because that'd be really nice.
Yes, I like that. So you'd have, I suppose everyone loves Mexican food here, but I'm thinking, I don't know, let's cook with French ingredients and have everything French this evening.
Yeah.
It'd be a really nice thing you could just do.
But then you could also just do that as kind of mail order, HelloFresh kind of thing as a business model, which would be quite cool.
Yeah, totally. Well, actually, the idea for this came from my idea for Air Hamper, which was one of the websites.
I remember this.
Yeah. Where someone in France you could basically buy a hamper from someone in France or someone in any other country in the world. And you could provide hampers in your country and provide them to other people. So if someone, for example, loves English chocolate in the US, it would be great for expats, for one.
Yeah.
But effectively, they'd pay you something like 20, 30 quid to package it up really, really nice. Maybe gift wrap some of the things in there if they want. It's the kind of thing that you can do whilst watching the TV. If you live in this country, you can just buy this stuff as part of your local shop, and then you're sending it around the world. rather than it being part of a huge logistics process. It's, there's no rush. Give it 4 weeks, put it on a ship somewhere, wrap it well. And, someone in Germany could be receiving packages that have been sent and packaged locally in Peru, for example. I would love that. I'd love to be able to shop the world on a screen as well. And you'd really be helping local people.
It's one thing we always enjoy when we are traveling is trying local food or just getting all the different chocolates and sweets that you just haven't seen before. I mean, my favourite thing is more the fruit, but that's not so practical for that business model.
Yeah.
But I do always try and, if I know I'm about to come back, I generally try and pick up like some kind of local chocolate just to give to you because I know you'll like that.
And I do always like it. Local chocolate is great.
Okay, any other of your favourite ideas? Because of some ideas you're like, I really love those ideas. Can we get a few of like...
I don't understand why no one has created kaleidoscopic curtains.
That's a really good point. I'd quite like some. Like, I'm not sure if I'd like it all the time.
Maybe you don't need it all the time.
Yeah.
But the idea that you could, pull up part of your blinds and the whole room just gets completely... What's the word? When it splits into the spectrum. What is that called? When light splits into different frequencies.
Refracting.
Refracting.
One of the other
That's
ones.
it.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I only studied physics for so many years of my life.
Let's have a look as well. Or the idea that you could have a razor blade sharpening tool, so you could use the same razor again and again without discarding it. So you basically
What do you think it rusty?
Well, that's the thing, is the laser burns off the rust. It may not be a laser, right? But
Okay.
it just seems like I don't understand why everyone obsesses about using new razors all the time. When you have a razor that if you just sharpened it like you do a pencil, it's still going to function
so
well.
thin that it kind of needs replacing by the time you come to shop. Oh yeah, I guess maybe not.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah, it could be a new business model of... I still think it would need to be slightly more expensive in the first place. Perhaps. Who knows? But yeah, that would be cool if you could innovate around that. Save a lot of waste.
I like the idea of magnetically charging the dust in a room so it all clumps together.
How would you do that?
Well, ionizers do that that's how ionizers purify the air. So they charge some particles positively, some negatively, and they join together so that they're so heavy that they hit the ground, so they're not floating around in the air anymore, which is pretty cool. So I like the idea that you could somehow, ionize all the dust on a shelf, and it would all just be in one little clump.
Yeah, that would be super sick.
It's so stupid, but I love the idea that it's possible. Yeah. And that's the thing, like whenever I'm doing ideas, I don't really care about how feasible it is.
Yeah.
That's good. That would be awesome.
The one I've been thinking about at the moment is related to a book called Peak, which is written by the guy who came up with the 10,000 hour rule that you may have heard of from Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, as in you're only going to be a true expert at something if you do 10,000 hours.
Right, which he is upset about, the fact that that's the common perception of that phrase. Yeah. Because Malcolm Gladwell took 10,000 hours from the fact that the violinists that would go on to become international soloists, like the highest caliber of violinists, had completed 10,000 hours worth of solo practice, not just practice, solo practice, by the time they were 20 years old. But that's the figure that then turned into, you need to spend 10,000 hours to become a master of something. Because it's just not true. You should keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And the whole book is about, and I recommend anyone to I listen to it through Audible, but I recommend anyone read the book, that he goes on to describe all of the ways that people get better at skills. And the idea is that from this book, that you can go onto a website, you can choose a skill that you want to get good at, and it breaks down path to mastery into skill chunks that can then be assessed online through you recording your performance and someone viewing it, some expert viewing it in his spare time or whatever.
Yeah, and then giving you tips to improve, saying what track you should do next, or what path you should take next, what you should concentrate on. Because have you ever heard anyone describe how difficult it is to learn violin? It's insane. They need to think about, if you put your finger a 16th of an inch off the right place, because there's no fretboard, the 16th of an inch turns into a sharp note, and anywhere off, you've got a completely different note. So they need to learn the correct placement for each of the notes, and then they need to hold it at a different pressure at different points along the fret. The bow, I don't know what you call it. And then there's 14 different styles of using the bow, the stem, and you need to then find a way to combine all of those things together. Honestly, I've just had my mind completely blown by how impressive violinists are. I have a lot of respect. There's a reason it's, Sherlock Holmes' instrument of choice, for example, because you've got to be
bloody smart to place something beautiful on it. So yeah, I actually contacted the authors about this and got a response from one of them because they, on their website, they say coming soon, there's going to be a website called Peak Deliberate Practice. Peak is the book, Deliberate Practice is the methodology.com, where you can do pretty much exactly what I said. But I sort of thought this idea, I'd made notes and everything, and then I went searching for this, if anyone else had created a website around deliberate practice. And the idea was that the authors were doing it. So I messaged them and said, you should really consider doing it because I'd love this idea. I'd love to be able to help in any way that I can. And, got a reply back saying, really appreciated your email. Glad to hear you're interested. I think we're planning on doing this in-house. But it's just said coming soon on their website for a year and a half now. So it's one of those things where if me and you had this, we could get an MVP up within a couple of months.
Yeah.
And try and create some sort of Wikipedia of skills.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Totally awesome. It'd be like Code Academy or Treehouse, but, any skill you could think of. Any weird world record you want to break. You want to try and fit 35 marshmallows in your mouth. Well, these are the steps you need to take. You've got to get 25 first, but you want to make sure that you get them in these specific places or, learn new party tricks. It could be anything, like any skill. But yeah, the 10,000 hour rule it's a misnomer because the best violinists in the world have done far more than 30,000 or 40,000 years of solo practice by the time they're 40 or 50 years old.
You mean 30, 40,000 hours? You said years?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Guess I was just like, this makes no sense. Okay. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I like that.
Would you recommend podcasting to other people?
Yeah, I would really. I still haven't released anything, so it's still very much kind of like in my own world rather than out there. And I'm kind of a bit scared by like having other people have input on it and stuff. And probably could have released stuff a bit earlier, but I wanted to like sort out my website and I kind of wanted to get some initial advertisers on it just because as soon as I can prove that my real goal is to make like £100 an episode. And from that, I can pay someone at work to do a full write-up of transcript, that's the word. And just to do the basic editing, it takes me like quite a long time, just like cutting out all like the kind of shit wording of things and just kind of cleaning it a bit. And like I'm still going to have to do quite a lot of editing myself, but if I can still save myself a few hours and it'll just make the whole process a lot quicker for me and nicer.
How many words per minute do you do?
What do you mean?
When you're transcribing?
I don't know.
No, you never tested it?
Less than I speak.
Right. I want to send you a link, and you can do it whilst we're doing this. Sending you the link. So you might have to sit up to do this as quickly as you can.
Is just someone speaking and you just type as quick as possible?
No, it just does one word as... Basically, you just type. There's no punctuation. So it's just a flow of words and spaces, which is great. I think it's the best typing test I've ever done. And this is livechatinc.com/typing-speed-test. And it tells you how you rank compared to other people. But this is what has got me thinking about how I type. Because I didn't realise that I was a quick typer. But I can do 100 words a minute, which is pretty satisfying. So it meant that I got pulled into all the meetings now in my office so that I can take the transcript and a log. So I take minutes in every meeting. Even calls, I'll just be typing away whilst we're on a call. And it just means that we have a record if we ever have a disagreement or a discussion with a client in the future. We can refer back to the meeting logs and meeting notes. And I can just do it as part of something in the background. So what I'm trying to say is that if you find it really slow doing a transcript, just send it to me. Because I can probably do it really quickly. And it will be a fun way for me to practice. Because I'm currently trying to learn proper typing style, which means you have your left index finger on the F, and your fingers heading towards the A, and your thumb over space, and then you have the right index finger over J, and then K, L, and the semicolon and colon. And basically, it's a skill to try and be quick at typing.
I got 50 words per minute.
Which is still really good. That's genuinely still rapid.
But yeah, I'd like to get better.
And if you click global scores at the top, you can see a histogram of results.
Yeah, wow, you say 100 is like really high.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I know, right?
I mean, yeah, if you don't mind doing it, then...
Well, it sounds like I can do it twice as fast as you can.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to help. But yeah, definitely, it's one of these things that I don't think either of us realise is a skill.
Yeah.
But I used to put it on my CV that I could do 60 words a minute.
Yeah, but I guess on deving, one thing I found was initially you want to try and like make loads of little shortcuts so that you can like kind of type code as quickly as possible and all these things. Some of it is really useful, like it's just like clears your head a bit if like when you have something you really want to like get into code, you can get it into code straight away. But 95% of your time coding is thinking about what to code. It's not like you're watching a hacker on TV and they're going, "Grrr." It's like, what do I don't know. Maybe if I, no. And so actually just being really fast doesn't really matter. It's just like you're thinking. So the same for me, like if I'm writing like prose, I have to think a lot more than it is like my typing speed. That's the problem. But I guess if I wanted to do like freehand journaling or something and things, and like my emails, I overthink what I need to write anyway. And
that doesn't sound like
if I was the first to type, it wouldn't make any difference.
Well, this is the thing, is for me,
But I still would like to be better at it.
Yeah, and if you think
If I could just make minutes in a meeting at the speed of it happening, that'd be awesome.
If you think about how what time investments you can make now that will benefit you most in the future.
Yeah.
I really think typing is one of them, because I so rarely use pen and paper anymore. I just type, and I prefer to message and text people, email people, all from my laptop. I don't understand why people use their phone. It's so much slower. And you can, every day for the last couple of months, I've spent 10 minutes practicing the proper typing technique, because I have my own typing technique, and I have 2 or 3 fingers that do about 60% of the typing. But if I get proper technique, then I move my fingers less for every single key that I press. And it's also completely developing my individual control over each finger, which sounds silly. But it's just like I've never thought about it consciously. I've just gone with it. Whereas this is also fits in well with the deliberate practice thing in this book. Although I was doing this before I read the book, but I'm challenging myself to push myself out of my comfortable typing technique and into an uncomfortable but proper and more efficient and more effective way of doing the same thing. So I imagine I'll be able to type faster than 100 words per minute once I've got the proper technique down. But at the moment, I imagine I've hit a bit of a wall. So if I can type 120 words per minute or something in a couple of years' time, I will be less likely to get carpal tunnel syndrome. I'll be less likely to make mistakes, because I'll know exactly where every key is. I won't be moving my hand all the time. They'll just be both moving up and down in tandem. Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't think people really think about, but it is a skill, and it affects almost every part of your life. So if you can shave off 2% or 5% or 10% of the time that it takes you to type something, think of the hours of benefit that is going to give you over the next 60 years.
Yeah, quite a lot. Cool.
Which gives you more content to write, which means there's more stuff for search engines to crawl, which means there's more people coming to your website, listening to your podcasts, etc. But yeah, I do also take on board the point that if you have to think about things, it sounds like you can probably find a quicker way to type if you properly think about the processes.
I would like to be a bit better, because I can mostly type now without looking at it, but I still should. My one boss, he'd be typing, but it always looked like quite far away in a different part of the room or something, but he wasn't looking at anything, so sometimes he'd just accidentally be staring at you, but he wasn't looking at anything, but he was typing. And it was really weird if you look up and he's just mindlessly staring at you, and you're like...
To be fair, I did that with Clarice yesterday. So she came in and was talking to me about something, but I was filling out a form for Nationwide, and I was also texting my brother, and I just did all of this whilst I was looking at her. So I was like, I am absolutely paying attention to you. I'm just also getting this thing done that I need to do. Serious multitasking. That's pretty much the only thing I can do to multitask.
Yeah.
Is typing and pretending like I'm looking somewhere else and doing something else. It's very handy, because it also means that if your boss comes in and he's talking to you, you can finish off the email you were writing.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents to add to what would be a good thing for you to spend 10 minutes a day on with solo practice.
Okay. What 3 things do we have in common?
Our love for ideas, bikes.
Okay, what 3 things do you have that aren't immediately obvious from the podcast?
But you want new things that haven't been mentioned. I think we both like long-term plans.
Yes.
And probably spreadsheets.
Yeah, we both like spreadsheets.
I think the two of those go together. If you like spreadsheets, you like long-term plans.
Mm-hmm.
Does that count as 2, or is that 1?
We can say that's 2.
Oh, thank God, I hate these games. The third, I want to say building our own house.
Yeah.
I think you want to do that.
I'd be happy to be involved with that. I don't think I'd want to like build the entire thing by myself.
But managing it is like actually
I'd like to,
designing it, building it.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't.
Because I don't want to relate every single brick because it would take me so many years. Like,
you'd be a perfectionist on every brick as well.
Yeah.
No, definitely hire a bricklayer. They are rapid.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think the fastest bricklayer did something like lay 150 bricks in a minute.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think they had someone walking along with like a cart of bricks, and he was just like slopping on everything.
It's got to be like a mess.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
But still, like, it just shows that some people are insanely quick at something.
Yeah, it's still cool.
All right, I'll think of another third thing, because I think that's probably quite weak. So the third thing would be, kind of want to say food.
That's what my stomach's saying anyway.
Yeah, well, mine's been rumbling too.
We are both really hungry right now.
Oh, I've got one. Okay, so the third thing would probably be Tim Ferriss's books.
As in, we really like them?
Yeah. 4-Hour Work Week, 4-Hour Body, 4-Hour Chef.
Yeah.
Then there's Tools of Titans.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've both read all 4.
I've actually only read the first one fully. The other 3, I haven't finished Tools of Titans. I really like it, but I've listened to the whole podcast, so...
Oh, yeah, you said you didn't really need
not to need to. And then you sent me an amazing summary.
Yeah, that's true, because I took notes.
I normally make notes on all my books, and you'd already made all the notes for me, and that really helped. So thanks for that. The 4-Hour Chef, I would like the paper version, because I got the Kindle, and it's kind of a bit annoying.
Yeah.
And I've found it a bit repetitive in some aspects, and...
The thing that I took away from that book was the idea that if you tell a top chef you can only take 3 ingredients to a desert island to cook with, they would choose lemon juice because you can do a lot more with it than you can with a seasoning like salt, but it acts like a seasoning because it's I can't remember exactly why, but basically like good chefs use lemon as salt, which I took that away from it. That's like one thing that I took away. Yeah, to be fair, that was my least favourite, was 4-Hour Chef.
Yeah, I did kind of like it, but then I did a lot of cooking. So the cooking side of things, I didn't really need to know so much. And then
you were already obsessed with
food. I do a lot of learning of things fairly quickly anyway, so wasn't so needed. And then the 4-Hour Body actually quite frustrated me as a scientist. Like, I got halfway through it and was just like, I don't want to see another example of bad science, and I kind of had to like stop reading it, even though a lot of the principles from the book are actually really good, and like most of those things that he tells you to do, bad claims. And so I kind of just I picked and chose those bits, but like some of the specific examples are just like find sort of one guy did something and like it was amazing, the results were huge, and you're like, well, that's got nothing to do with me. Like, I'm not that guy.
I felt exactly the same. I completely agree. There was like this.
Yeah, well, like, I'm going to do a test over 24 hours where like I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to eat like 6,000 calories, and you're like, well, that's only over 24 hours. Like it was just kind of pointless, a lot of the things. But I do still really like Tim Ferriss, and like I remember the first time I read the first book, and it was just like, holy shit. Like, you know, when you read some things and like someone's just like investigated something that you don't really know about, and you're like, okay, it's kind of cool, like that's something I don't know about. But something I knew a bit about, it just felt like me that knew a lot more was writing the book for me. And it was like, shit, this is exactly like what I've kind of been thinking, but someone's just organized my thoughts for me and written a great book of like what I wanted to know and kind of half know but haven't properly thought about. And this is great. And yeah, so I really liked the book and half liked his other books. And his podcast is obviously great. So yeah.
All right, so I think we can say maybe we don't both love Tim Ferriss's books, but I think we both love the approach that Tim Ferriss has to experimenting. And he refers to it as going deep into something.
Yeah, I'd love
really
to
getting stuck in.
More of the self-experimentation that he's done. Like,
I don't have the money though.
Yeah.
Like that's a big factor.
You just buy this thing. Like,
you can build your own sauna for only $10,000, and I'm thinking, I don't have that, Tim.
Yeah, he doesn't like even.
Part of me also thinks, and maybe I'm wrong, but he recommends a lot of really expensive things.
Maybe just because he's getting money to recommend them.
Exactly. So one of them is this duvet that keeps the guy cooler than the girl.
Oh yeah, the chili mattress or whatever.
Exactly.
It's called, yeah.
Oh, chili mattress. You're right. It wasn't a duvet, which I think is bloody genius.
Yeah, women are so hot. It's a nightmare.
But they cost something like £500 to £1,000. There are these noise cancelling speakers.
Yeah.
Which I think is genius. I don't know why. I live under a flight path, and I love the idea that I can't hear the planes. Even if I could sleep with the window open, but the noise cancelling speaker would cancel out the noise of the plane going overhead. I love the fact that technology has got that good.
Yeah.
That's possible. Other things, he's recommended loads of the weird ways that he measures his own body fat, or
yeah.
He just has he goes so deep into something that he gets the most niche, specific perfection piece of equipment, and you just think, I'm going to go for the cheaper option because I don't think I need to spend that much money on it. Him, for example, why get the chili mattress? Just put a fan behind you. That's what I do.
Thought.
That's why there's a fan there.
Oh, nice. So Glass is always kind of hot and likes being hot.
Well, women are little incubators. This is
Yeah.
what I've learned. But they're not all little. Women are incubators. What about, seeing it's your podcast, are you only allowed to ask those sorts of questions?
Now you can ask me these questions. I normally ask people what is their favourite question of some sort and then ask it to them.
Oh, okay, I've got one.
Yeah.
What's your thing?
What's my thing? Good question. My thing, I guess part of it is having a lot of things. Like, I've never really liked being defined by my thing. Whenever I kind of get a bit panicky when I ever have too much of a thing. But when everyone recognizes me as like the guy for this thing, I start to feel a bit like, this isn't my thing. Whoa. And I have to go and do a new thing just so like it stops being my thing.
I'm really sorry. I'm not going to allow that as an answer.
So I guess that's not saying, but as in, so my thing is that I kind of redefine myself every few years and I kind of jump into something quite strong and get really into it. And I just like the idea of always changing. And so I guess my thing is change and learning new stuff and getting really good at things.
Are you saying that your thing is a growth mindset?
Yes. I'm saying my thing is a growth mindset. Giving some shit answers here.
No, not at all. Because it's a tough question, right? But it's a question that we posed with a big bunch of Eugene's mates.
Yeah.
And we started just asking people, because we didn't really know many of Eugene's mates at all.
Yeah.
We just started asking people, what's your thing? And the answers were fascinating. So one girl said that her thing was Diablo 3, the game.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming at all. Piers told me that his thing was salt and vinegar crisps, and then went through his personal ranking of the best salt and vinegar crisps that you can get in a shop.
Nice.
My thing is Frisbees.
Yeah.
Just love Frisbees. I'm literally like a dog with them. One guy's thing was Suffolk.
Yeah.
Just loves it. Just can't get enough of Suffolk.
Okay, I feel like I've answered this wrong. Well,
yeah, so it could be like, don't worry, because it's not the thing that defines you. It's just like, what's your thing?
Okay, maybe fruit. I can't stop eating fruit. I really love fruit, like lots of different fruits, like maybe 4 or 5 fruits a day at least. I was getting super into it. I don't feel that should be my thing though. Like,
tell me a specific
fruit.
fruit.
Rollerblading a lot lately, but
No.
specific fruit.
I think you need to have had it as your thing for quite a while.
Yeah.
Which has got to be tough for you, because you just said that you love all this change.
Yeah.
But I think your thing needs to have stuck with you over the years. One of my things is eating the parts of fruit that other people won't.
Yeah. Like,
So I'll eat an entire apple, for example, sometimes.
Yeah.
And other than the the attachment of the kiwi to the kiwi tree,
Yeah.
I'll eat the whole thing, like
Yeah.
hairy bits and all, because it's got all the fibre in it.
Okay.
So people look at me strange, and I kind of enjoy it because you're challenging their perception of something. They don't think that it's edible, but it's edible.
Yeah. That sounds like a cool thing. I might do more of that.
Yeah, but it's good.
Do you eat it when other people have like eaten their kiwi and you're like, oh mate, I'll just eat that? Or like, well, more like the apple core and you're like, oh, I'll just eat the rest.
No, to be fair, I haven't eaten a hollowed out, hairy half
Half
egg of a kiwi.
Yeah.
I think that wouldn't be particularly tasty. That would just be chewy, hairy fibre.
Yeah.
But it's fine when you eat it as part of a kiwi.
Okay.
Because it's all juicy, it just cancels it out.
I think one thing my friends will say is my thing is I will eat other people's food.
That is your thing. Yeah, that is your thing.
Everyone that knows me will be like, Sam will definitely just, as soon as you've stopped eating, Sam will eat what's left on your plate.
Yeah, I think I've described you to people as that as well. Sam will just eat food off your plate.
Yeah. I
It's just what he does. It's not he's not being rude. It's just what he does.
Yeah. It's like, if you're not going to eat it, it should get eaten, and I can eat.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I've become obsessed with fruit recently.
Yeah?
I started ordering a Riverford box of fruit
cool.
every week.
Didn't know you even did.
Well, I did for 2 weeks. I paid £12.75.
Yeah.
They got 5 different types of fruit. I expected them all to be sort of organic and local. Some were from Spain. But they sent in apples from New Zealand.
What?
Right? And I messaged them, and I spoke to them on Twitter about why they do this.
Yeah.
And they said that they ship them in these low oxygen, low temperature containers. And it's the only way that they can get apples all year round. And I'm thinking, I remember watching a documentary where Sainsbury's have UK grown apples in these huge low oxygen, low temperature tanks.
All year round.
All year round. Or they're getting to the point where it's nearly all year round. It's like 10 out of 12 months.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, Riverford, don't bloody send me apples from New Zealand. Just find me something more local.
Yeah.
I'm not going to die without apples.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
As in, I'll happily have a mango this year or
So I then
strawberries over summer.
I felt a little bit put off, and I know I'd been spending a lot, and I don't really want to spend money shipping apples from New Zealand. I'd rather just go to the supermarket and buy whatever they've got, right? So I went to the supermarket with £12.75 to see how much more fruit I could buy. I could buy 2.5 times as much, probably because
There's been a lot of
Tesco...
fruit in your house recently.
Yeah, I've just,
Tesco
every
got some
week,
great deals.
I've now committed to spending every week as much on fruit as I would have, roughly,
Yeah.
on Riverford.
Nice.
And I'm now, like...
Yeah, you do well with that.
Yeah, so I've got like plums and nectarines on my desk at work. I've got grapes and strawberries and kiwis, and nectarines are 49p a punnet at the moment.
Oh.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's good. I quite like some of the frozen fruit things as well.
Yeah, frozen berries are so good.
Yeah.
Frozen blueberries as well. Plus, they last.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't have a freezer, but they still last 3 or 4 days after they've defrosted in the fridge. Yeah, and they're really nice and juicy, and they kind of
slushy.
like they've lost a lot of their internal structure, so they sort of pop like little juice packets when they're defrosted.
Cool.
Which is nice. Great on yogurt.
Yeah.
So yeah, fruit. People should
Fruit's
be
always
eating more
been
of
my
it.
thing, but then the eating people's plates is something that, like, whenever I meet my friends after a few years, they haven't seen me, and then they'll kind of laugh and be like, "Oh, you haven't changed them."
What? Because you're just helping yourself to their fruit bowl.
Yeah. I think they'll just always remember me like, "Ah."
Well, see, I know you well because I've given you a bowl of fruit.
Yeah. You have, thanks. I actually have fruit in my bag, so
Of course you do.
yeah, cool. So that's my thing. What was your thing?
Frisbees.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, cool. Anything else you want to ask me?
What country would you live in if money and job wasn't a factor? You'd just go and live there, explore there, but you could only stay in that country for, say, 2 years. Where would you go?
Some weird constraints there.
Because I know you like travelling around, which is why
Yeah.
I'm confining you to one country.
I mean, USA is really big and like lots of different things you can do there.
You're probably going to get shot there.
I really like Canada. I could happily just live in Vancouver for 2 years because I think like the summer is quite nice. Weather-wise, a bit better, and you can go and do like kind of kite surfing and fun things. And now that I'm really into climbing and rollerblading and stuff, I could just do all of that over summer. And then winter, you've got like the ski season right next to it, so you're kind of pretty set up for like all year round anyway. So that's awesome. Or Spain. So Canada or Spain, I think. I just really love Spain.
I'm surprised you haven't come for a really big country with a really frequent
Canada's big.
spoken language like China or India.
Yeah,
Russia
yeah. I think
or-
if I had to, like, it would be Spain, just because of it's the only language I've nearly learned, and I find it so difficult learning languages that I'd like to just really nail one.
You don't fancy Argentina or Chile or
Yeah, I wouldn't mind
Ecuador?
any of those.
Ecuador has
Colombia.
rainforest, skiing and beaches,
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
all within about 2 hours drive.
Well, I guess because if it was 2 years, I was more like,
Where do you want to set up?
yeah,
Set
set up, and like Spain's always been the one where like actually I've been there quite a few times and I just always love it and could set up there. And it's still big enough to go travel and see lots of other things in it. Yeah, like the whole of South America I really enjoy and would like to spend more time going around, and I really want to go around Colombia and Costa Rica a bit more. And I really enjoyed Mexico. I could happily spend 2 years in Mexico now that I spent like 2 months in. What about you? What would be your... Because I guess I'm more answered on like the potential places I'd like to really live long term.
I keep coming back to how much I love Italy.
Yeah?
Just, they've got the most amazing lakes and history and mountains and coffee and
Food is amazing.
the people are really nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I was rural most of the time, and I think people are always nicer further out of cities.
Yeah, I really enjoyed rural Italy. It's so nice and like welcoming. It's not too expensive at all.
So that would be my my gut instinct at the moment.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem being forced to spend 2 years in Italy and like roaming around. And I guess it does depend on what I'm doing. If I was forced to like, if I was working hard on like my own projects as well, but you said money wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. So for your bike tour, you'd rather go to like Croatia again rather than like going around Italy? Because I still always felt like just doing a bike tour of Italy would be sweet.
I think those two countries rank highest when I was cycling.
Okay, and what about Iceland when you went there?
Yeah, Iceland is amazing. The people are amazing. Everything about Iceland is amazing.
Yeah?
I don't think I'd do too well in the long, dark nights.
Yeah, that's super depressing.
Yeah, but I don't think I'd do too well with the long, bright summers either.
It's also kind of awkward for your body clock.
Yeah, but I learned a fact about Iceland is that 1 in 33 people in Iceland are published authors.
Wow.
So that's what they do. It's loads of writing. They think, I'm bored, it's dark, it's cold, I've got a nice
with
wood
your,
burning fire here.
100 words a minute, you can move there and write a bunch of novels.
It might take me 2 years just to get to grips with the weird language there.
All right, I wouldn't say write it in Icelandic.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah, Iceland is very cool.
You think you'll write a novel at some point in your life?
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I've kind of had it more for like when I was 50, 60. I'm more was when I'll write like an album or something when I'm younger.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think it's tricky. You want to make sure that whatever you write about, you know what you're writing about.
Yeah.
You don't want your friends and family to read it and think he really thinks that he knows more than he does. So I think when you get older, you will have figured out a lot more what you don't know and where you should steer clear. But I like the idea of summing up a lot of the popular science books that people read into a sort of like a totem guide to how to put all of the research that everyone's done so far on humans into practice in your everyday life.
Yeah, have you read Sapiens?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to read that. I haven't read it yet, but it sounded maybe along the lines of that.
Well, I can send you the audio version for free.
You mean I'll just edit that out?
No, I don't mean that. I mean, I can refer you to Audible and you get your first book for free.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like that.
I've listened to it a couple of times now, actually, and I recommended it. Alyssa downstairs, she's reading it at the moment. My brother, I gave it to him for his birthday.
Cool.
But I would recommend that people don't go on to the second book afterwards.
No? Like read something else for a bit and then do it, or just don't read the second book?
Well, the thing is he has this incredible grip on history.
Yeah.
Everything to do with the human race and how our society and culture has developed individually and together as a globe. And it's fascinating. And yeah, would recommend that to anyone. What I'm worried about the second book, and I feel qualified to mention it even though I haven't read it, because I listened to a few of his talks about the second book after I read the first book. And the second book is called Homo Deus. And it's about the fact that basically Homo sapiens are going to engineer themselves into extinction.
Yeah.
So we'll all have sort of bioimplants and stuff. And I believe that's true. But you don't need an entire book to tell you that.
Yeah, so you think it's one of those books that actually could just be a good blog post, and it's got one big idea and like 300 pages of extra, I don't need this.
Also, it's been proved. It's a great book I listened to recently called Super Forecasters.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all those long range things are actually like, they're never really...
Exactly. So you can predict about 18 months as a limit into the future. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, much easier. 18 months is about as far out as you can go. Otherwise, you might as well just flip a coin. And
if you watch like Back to the Future, everyone had like flying cars.
Exactly.
No, we've got Facebook, and that's fine, but it's like completely not what was predicted.
Exactly. And we just don't know where things are going to go. And he, I think, from his incredibly brilliant perspective of humans, feels like he can now extrapolate.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can. I really don't think you can. I think he can say what's going to happen next year or, a year and a half from now in terms of potential conflicts or human difficulties with biotechnology, cultural issues, ethical issues. But I don't think he can say human beings are going to engineer themselves into extinction and this is why and this is how. And I just don't think that anyone knows enough about that yet to be worth your time reading it. I think you'd be better off forming your own opinions and judging frequently, little and often, whether your predictions were right and whether you can accurately forecast things.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that made me want to be an entrepreneur, actually, was like, I just had ideas as a child for things. And then like a few years later, being like, seeing something that was like, that was my idea. And that kind of really gave me the confidence to be like, holy crap, when I have these ideas, they can happen. Like, someone can do these things and then like, it'll be occurring. And so I should actually follow these things.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I absolutely love it when you see, because we have far too many ideas to put into action. And what I love about being interested in ideas is that you might be subscribed to all the products on Product Hunt that go into beta. For example, I get an email every time, and I'll see so many ideas that I've had going in there, which is great, because one of the important things as an entrepreneur is you realize that you're not the only person who's ever had this idea.
Yeah.
The question is, why hasn't anyone done it? So when you see that people actually are doing it, you wish them the best, which is why I'm so happy to wish Air Supply the best with the cover teaching stuff. It's like, we're not the only people with this idea. And TaskRabbit and Zali and Thumbtack, they were all founded around the same time that James and I came up with the idea of Patchwork Pie. Some of those are multi-billion businesses now. And it gives you conviction that the ideas that you have are good. And
so you see the work on your execution. And
yeah, exactly. So yeah, big fan of forecasting in terms of ideas. I'd never really thought about it in that perspective, but I suppose when you have an idea, what you're doing is you're realizing a potential for something to happen.
Yeah.
And it could definitely occur. And you want it to, you want the conviction. So yeah, Sapiens, you're going to love it. But maybe do what I did then. Listen to one of his talks. You can find him on YouTube. He does like an hour-long talk about Homo Deus. Listen to that. Save yourself some money. And it's all very interesting, but not an entire book's content.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, I've been reading Super Intelligence, and it's all about like the future of AI, but it's also got like quite a bit of stuff about like humanity and like how we'll interact with AI and other things like how we can sort of engineer ourselves to be more super intelligent, like going forwards. And it's just loads of kind of deep stuff about like the future and what's really going to happen and what might not happen. And it's quite interesting to read, like how we should really sort of think about. So it's basically, he kind of goes down like every different avenue that could possibly really happen and like what would be the things that would cause it and what we try to avoid and stuff. And it's kind of interesting stuff to think about as food for thought if you are future thinking. And it's not quite so this is the one thing that's going to happen. It's a bit more like broad, which maybe you prefer. Yeah,
sounds like I'd prefer that. I think so.
Because I was a bit worried it was going to be all just like pure technical, like this is how machine learning, like codey things, but it still talks a lot about like broader level. Well, it is, I'm saying the wrong words, it is just quite broader level about it rather than like specifically how it would technically like get coded.
I suppose that's because no one knows, no one's created it, right? But I like how, so far, my belief, I was going to say I like how it's been described as, but I really should just say that it's my belief, because obviously it's someone's opinion that has now become my opinion through reading various things. The idea that the best chess player in the world at the moment is AI, right? Yeah. But the potential for tournaments where you have a human working alongside a machine, that's probably going to be better than just a machine, because you can predict a machine if you know how the machine works. Yeah. But if you put the intelligence of a machine in the capable hands of a human, then the human being can make judgment calls that a machine can't make. Yeah,
but the thing with the AI that was able to beat the human is you can't predict how it's going to work because it taught itself. So that's the difference between like a basic computer program, like easy level, like.
You're talking about machine learning versus...
Yeah. Whereas machine learning, it's kind of like it's taught itself things that we don't even know what it's taught itself. So we can't actually predict what it's going to do.
That's like what Google has with 10% of its search results being ordered on a page by a machine, and no one really knows how that works, which is totally cool. Should we bring this to a close?
Probably should, yeah.
I've got to get a train in 28 minutes.
Cool. How do people get in touch or follow you? Blog?
I've got a website.
Cool.
Which is alexdenne.com, which is DENNE. And people can
find your Twitter.
Twitter's Alex J. Den, and Instagram, I think, is Alex J. Den. Facebook is /Alex Den. It's pretty easy. Basically, I'm not the DJ Alex Den. Just like you're not the philosopher Sam Harris.
No.
You're the other one.
You're the podcast as well. Right.
Yeah, true.
good podcast. So if you're ever bored, cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
It's been a pleasure. You've just taken my podcast virginity.
So, that's the end of the interview. As always, I like to break down my top lessons and books from the episode. So, number 1, I just love Alex's approach to improvement and works out how he can improve it, gamifying things. So, from giving yourself a fruit budget equivalent to a fruit box subscription to getting faster at typing and making yourself a more skillful human being. It's something that you do all the time but just don't think about it. It's good to always step back and be mindful and curious of what it is that you're doing. 2, cycle touring is awesome. I should really do more cycle touring with my life. It's such a great way to see the world. It can be done really cheaply and it's a fun, healthy way of exploring with a good amount of challenge. 3, work with people who complement you. Just because you're both interested in an idea and you get along doesn't mean you're the best business partners. You need to find someone that seeks out and solves the problems that you can't. Otherwise, you're just going to end up double working on the same things. So, to further explore this, I'd say people that do the same job as you should end up just being your employees that you hire, whilst you find new problems that you can solve. People that solve things that you can't even comprehend are the people that you want to be your business partners. We discussed some great books in the episode. His first recommendation is Peak by Anders Ericsson and Robert Poole. Now, if you want to be awesome at anything, this is a great book, and it really embodies the growth mindset and explains how you can improve and master any skill you want, and you don't necessarily need to have an innate talent to be brilliant. We talk about Tim Ferriss's books, specifically The 4-Hour Work Week is a really great book just to help you live your life and be more successful at everything. His other books are worth reading, but I would take The 4-Hour Body and The 4-Hour Chef with a grain of salt, as he does make some overwhelming statements that aren't exactly accurate. We go on to discuss Sapiens, Super Forecasting and Superintelligence, which we literally just spoke about, so I don't need to break them down too much for you right now. But for anybody wanting to know more about the world around them and what's going on, I'd really recommend reading them. I've actually become very obsessed with this topic at large and have started writing either a book or a blog series in this general area. I want to really cover the good and bad science and how people make predictions so that anyone reading in the area can just do a much better job of it themselves and empower themselves to understand what's going on much more than just taking things at surface level. And then I also want to cover the history of humans and the evolution of societies, evolutions of consciousness, and psychological reason behind our behaviors and how that will shape our future interactions. And then just the latest in AI, research, tech, where that's leading. So lots of cool existential questions about where we want to end up as a species. It's kind of what's on my mind, and yeah, that's what I'll be doing for the next year, maybe. Cool. And otherwise, thanks a lot for listening. You've listened to an episode of the Growth Mindset podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe on your preferred app and give me a good rating. I would add, it's been proven that people that give good feedback demonstrate higher IQ and generally just have this irresistible gravity around them that just makes everybody want to be their friends. If you are unable to give good feedback right now, try sharing the show with a friend who will, or just wait for the show to improve. If you have any ideas for the show or you just want to reach out, I'd love to talk to you. On Twitter, I am at Sam Harris Tweets, or Instagram, SamJamSnaps. You can find the show notes on Medium if you search for the Growth Mindset podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy your next podcast.